Hey everyone, welcome back to FT News. I'm Myra. So Hacks ends in a way that feels heartbreaking, funny, emotional, hopeful, and strangely peaceful all at the same time. The finale doesn't try to create some giant shocking twist or dramatic cliffhanger. Instead, it focuses completely on Deborah and Ava's relationship, because at its core that was always what Hacks was really about. And honestly, the ending works so well because it understands these characters perfectly. By the final episode, Deborah Vance is tired. Not physically weak in the traditional TV drama way, but emotionally exhausted after spending her entire life fighting to survive in comedy, television, fame, relationships, and public opinion. Earlier in the season, Deborah had surgery to remove a mass, but now she finally reveals the truth to Ava. The cancer has spread. And suddenly, the entire tone of the finale changes. Because Deborah decides she does not want chemotherapy, hospitals, endless treatments, or slowly losing control over herself. She wants to leave on her own terms. That decision is extremely important because control has always defined Deborah's entire personality. Throughout the series, Deborah constantly tried controlling everything around her. Her image, her comedy, her emotions, her career, even her friendships. So it makes complete sense that when facing death, her instinct is still to control the ending. That's why she plans the Paris and Zurich trip. Paris represents beauty, elegance, romance, and freedom. Zurich represents the final decision. Deborah wants one last perfect goodbye before ending her life on her own terms. And honestly, Jean Smart's performance in these scenes is incredible because Deborah never becomes overly sentimental. She's scared, but she hides it beneath sarcasm, stubbornness, humor, and emotional distance. That's exactly who Deborah is. Meanwhile, Ava reacts the way most viewers probably would. At first, she refuses to accept Deborah's decision. She desperately searches for treatments, alternative options, new possibilities. Because Ava cannot imagine her life without Deborah. And what makes this emotional is that their relationship was never simple. They constantly fought, manipulated each other, hurt each other. But beneath all of that was genuine love and understanding. Deborah changed Ava's life completely. And Ava changed Deborah's life too. That's why the Paris scenes feel so powerful. There's sadness hanging over every conversation, but the show still keeps its humor alive. And honestly, some of the funniest moments in the finale come from old callbacks. Especially the long-running joke about Ava's hands. For years, Deborah mocked Ava's supposedly huge hands. But in the finale, Deborah finally reveals her own hands are actually bigger. It's such a small moment, but it perfectly represents how their relationship evolved. Earlier seasons used jokes as weapons between them. Now the jokes feel affectionate, comforting, almost like a shared language only the two of them fully understand. But the real turning point of the finale happens during breakfast before the train to Zurich. Deborah suddenly starts eating freely without caring about diets or restrictions anymore. And then naturally, Deborah and Ava begin doing what they always do best: writing jokes together. They start trying to outdo each other with jokes about death, food, aging, and dying. And in that moment, something changes inside Deborah. Because for the first time since learning about the cancer, she feels alive again. Not because the fear disappears. Not because she suddenly becomes hopeful about treatment. But because comedy reminds her who she really is. Deborah realizes she still has jokes left inside her. She still has stories left to tell. And for Deborah Vance, that means life is still worth living. That's why she suddenly runs after Ava and announces she's not going to Zurich anymore. Instead, she wants to make one final comedy special about dying. And honestly, this is the perfect ending for Deborah because the show understands something very important. Deborah does not choose life because everything magically becomes okay. She chooses life because she still has work left unfinished. Comedy is not just Deborah's career. It's her identity, her survival mechanism, her purpose. As long as she can still make people laugh, Deborah still feels connected to the world. And the beautiful thing is that this directly mirrors the pilot episode. Back in season 1, Deborah originally rejected Ava completely. But then Deborah came up with a better version of Ava's controversial joke and chased her down to tell her. That single joke changed both of their lives forever. Now in the finale, another joke changes everything again. The series literally begins and ends with Deborah running after Ava because of comedy. That full circle structure is honestly brilliant. Now meanwhile, Ava's ending is equally important. Because throughout the entire series, Ava struggled with living in Deborah's shadow. She admired Deborah but also feared becoming trapped by her. However, by the finale, Ava finally looks confident and fully in control of her own career. She's running her own show, making decisions confidently, leading a room successfully. And most importantly, she's no longer depending on Deborah's approval to define her worth. That doesn't mean Deborah matters less to her. It means Deborah helped Ava become strong enough to stand on her own. And that's why Deborah calling Ava a big, brave girl now feels emotional instead of sarcastic. Earlier in the show, it was used mockingly. Now Deborah genuinely means it. Ava has finally grown into someone Deborah fully respects as an equal. The finale also quietly wraps up Jimmy and Kayla's story in a surprisingly satisfying way. After being humiliated and pushed aside, Jimmy discovers that Michael has secretly been selling dead clients' voices and likenesses to AI companies without consent. That revelation becomes one of the finale's strongest statements about modern entertainment. Because Hacks clearly takes a strong stance against corporations exploiting artists even after death. Jimmy and Kayla blackmail Michael and take over Latitude themselves. And even though they lose employees and luxury perks, they finally gain creative freedom and integrity. That storyline connects perfectly to the larger themes of the show. Because Hacks has always been about artists fighting to protect authenticity in an industry constantly trying to commercialize and replace individuality. The finale also gives Las Vegas one final emotional tribute. Honestly, Vegas almost feels like a character throughout the entire series. Deborah explains that Vegas accepted her when the rest of the entertainment industry dismissed her as too loud, too flashy, too much. And that's really what Deborah herself represents. Someone unapologetically excessive, complicated, messy, and larger than life. That's why opening the Diva Hotel matters emotionally. It becomes a place for outsiders, performers, weird personalities, and survivors like Deborah herself. And then finally, the series ends with Deborah and Ava laughing together while Vegas glows around them. No giant dramatic speech. No tragic death scene. No forced emotional breakdown. Just two women who transformed each other's lives sitting together and laughing. And honestly, that's exactly how Hacks should end. Because underneath all the comedy, success, fame, and chaos, this was ultimately a story about connection. About mentorship. About generations learning from each other. And about two deeply flawed women helping each other become better versions of themselves. Deborah began the series terrified of becoming irrelevant. Ava began the series immature, angry, and directionless. By the finale, Deborah rediscovers her passion for life through comedy, while Ava finally becomes fully capable of carrying her own voice into the future. That's why the ending feels so satisfying. It doesn't promise perfection. Deborah is still sick. Life is still uncertain. But for now, Deborah chooses to live, to create, to laugh, and to keep telling jokes until she physically can't anymore. And honestly, there could not have been a more perfect ending for Deborah Vance than that. Thank you guys for watching, sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one.